Hi everyone, just wanted to consolidate my recent thoughts on the market starting from Bitcoin. The price action in the last few days has been quite interesting. Obviously bears and bulls are fighting over a big level here. Bitcoin went all the way to 69k and now has deviated back below this diagonal trend line, which has served as a heavy resistance area in the last few months. Today Bitcoin retraced its move from yesterday slightly in a lower time frame, but is now trying to get above this trend line. I think this level is a huge level for the greater outlook of the market, so around 68k to 68.2k. I think if Bitcoin manages to reclaim this area, it can potentially target these highs here, which is the all-time high area. And if that breaks, it obviously goes into price discovery. If you look at the weekly, the macro structure is quite bullish still. So a few days ago, Bitcoin managed to flip this trend line on the weekly, and it just slightly deviated below on yesterday's dip, but now is accepting again above this level, which I think is quite bullish on a higher time frame. I think as long as it stays above this trend line on the weekly, it has potential to reach its all-time high area. Looking at some other indexes, we talked about S&P 500 the other day. Also very interesting price action in the last few hours. It basically went into price discovery, reached a new all-time high, and now retested this previous all-time high area, which it is holding. This is also quite important for the crypto market. It has done the same in early October. It broke above its all-time high area, went into price discovery, that came back and retested the previous all-time high area and held it successfully. This is what we want to see in the following days as well. I do not want to see the SPX finding acceptance below the previous all-time high area, because I think that would be quite bearish. Moving forward, we are also monitoring the dollar, which is quite interesting. It has been strong due to several factors in the last few days, including the odds of Trump winning the elections increasing, a different geopolitical developments, as well as positive macroeconomic data. We're monitoring the dollar around this level, and depending on upcoming macroeconomic data that will be released next week, including the GDP numbers, the unemployment rate, and job openings, the dollar can either deviate back below this area or reach all the way to 106. And I think if the latter happens, that could limit the near-term growth potential of speculative assets, including Bitcoin. The last index that I think is quite interesting to discuss is Total 2. I think the higher time frame structure looks quite interesting. So we obviously had a downtrend with lower lows and lower highs for 6 months. Then after the Japanese stock market crashed in early August, it dipped to a significant level to catch a lot of liquidity and initiate a potential change of trend. Since then, we are seeing higher lows and higher highs. If you zoom in on the lower time frame, we retested a pretty big area in the last few days, which has been around 975 billion, which has been a place in the market where both ETH and ALT have locally topped in the last few months. We came back all the way to the 905 billion area, which is holding for now. When this area was reached, we also received some alerts for our RSI resets for Bitcoin and alts, which is an additional sign and more confluence to enter new long positions here. Now, given that Bitcoin bounced yesterday up in a 4-hour RSI reset, but didn't get a 12-hour RSI reset yet, it is still possible that Bitcoin can drop slightly more in the next few days and complete that 12-hour RSI reset. That's not guaranteed to happen, but it can. Historically, in the last few weeks, every time the 12-hour RSI reset, that marked the local bottom. But now, and especially during yesterday's dip, the market bounced, but we didn't get this 12-hour RSI reset. So that's still something that makes me at least not exclude potential new lows in the next few days or weeks. I think if that happens, so if Bitcoin doesn't manage to go above 68k, a drop to 64.5k or 63.5k wouldn't necessarily be bearish on a higher time frame. That would still be a higher low, which basically confirms our bias that the higher time frame structure for Bitcoin still looks good. And depending on this, whether Bitcoin will retest lower or manage to flip these highs, we will also navigate Total 2. And for Total 2, what I'm specifically looking at on a higher time frame is a reclaim of this area above 975 billion. I think if Total 2 manages to reclaim this area, that will be very bullish for both ETH and alts, as that has been an area of interest for bears to either enter short positions or sell their long positions from lower. So if that happens, I expect a significant growth for ETH and alts in the next few months. But obviously first, that will depend on what Bitcoin will do around the 68k area. So This is what we are currently monitoring, BTC, stocks, the dollar obviously, and total too. Take a look at the RSI, especially the 4-hour, the 12-hour, the daily. Whenever we get an RSI, especially in a higher time frame, close to the oversold area below 35, that's usually a good trigger to enter long positions or spot positions, while when it gets to an overbought area, usually above 70, that's a place where you should look for taking profits and especially avoid a new long or spot positions. So thanks for joining, guys. Let me know if you have questions. Take care and stay safe trading.